or akong laptop na galag. Hello, hello, hello. Dako yan sa iligan. Hello. Pagpangaon, no? May pangaon tara sa Irel. Okay. All right. Hello. Welcome to our activity for today. We are going to have a news writing workshop. So basically what we're going to do is I'm just going to walk through you again the process of writing news article or news story. So we will go from what is a news story, what is the lead, how to write the lead, how to write the body of a news story, and hopefully by the end of this workshop or this meeting, we are going to be able to produce something or provide an output for today's activity. Okay, so let's go start. Before that, any questions first on our previous topics, previous activities, previous lessons?
I have, ma'am, about sa mga tingalan ni sa current, kanyang tingalan nga subject, ma'am, about sa katong assignment. Wala may format magid ato, ma'am. Sa ano siya pagbukat?
Ansa man? What do you mean?
Katong
Katong
25 counts.
25 counts? Katong headlines.
Yes, ma'am. Question number 1.
There is in the PowerPoint that I provided. There is a unit. Let me check. There is a unit counting on how to count the number of letters in the headline. Now, usually, do not worry. You're not going to literally count every headlines that you're going to make. It's just an example activity of how headline counting is done in publishing houses or printing companies. So the writers do not necessarily have they don't necessarily do the headline counting, but rather they are just going to write the proper headline. Only that you are liable to write a headline that is short enough to accommodate the number of units provided for your page or for your slot in that newspaper. Because the reality is that when you are a writer, a news story writer or columnist, baka bayaran na nimo. Kung columnist ka, for example, columnist ka, bayaran nimo ang isa ka part nimo sa kanang newspaper. Pero if kanang writer ka ana nga kuan na po kay part ana dapat for example, yung mga editor mo ka nga, oy, kanang kuan, iberyo, buhat og ang headline niyo ka, dapat 25 units na siya, dili siya mula pa sa 40 units, something like that. Because they would be measuring the size of your headline, dapat mo fit siya sa imuhang part sa newspaper. Because diba, part mo na siya, box mo na siya. So, iguon na nilang daghang mga parts sa imuhang articles in newspaper. Okay, but unfortunately, my Google Chrome is nagwa-wild na naman siya. No, I don't know what happened, but I will try to get back on that later. Okay? Just remind me to do so. Okay?
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
but for now, let's go start with our workshop. Let me start to share my PowerPoint. Yung laptop ang problema siguro. Let me start to share my PowerPoint presentation, everyone. So welcome to English 119 News Writing Workshop. So in this workshop, we are supposed to be, learning how to write a news story or news article at the moment. Because news is very, kanabitang, if it happened in that moment, then it should be written in that moment as well. Okay, so dapat it takes dapat dili siya paugmaan ba, dili siya hipahimong bahaw, because in that sense mawala ang kanang sa tawagan na katong element ito niyang timeliness niya. Okay, for example, if you're the writer, barag mawala ka sa passing ba pag imo pa siyang paugmaan. So we hope that we could be able to come up with a article or news story today that will probably practice or put into practice what you learned in the previous lesson. So let's go start first with the saying, the pen is mightier than the sword. Do you all agree with this one? So the pen is mightier than the sword. So I have a pen right here. This could kill a lot of people. Is that true? Hello.
Depende, ma'am.
Depende. Okay, but this is a figurative saying or figurative sentence in which you say the pen symbolizes the power of freedom of speech, the power of words to destroy, to perhaps to heal, perhaps to save someone or a country, perhaps. Okay, so what this line is saying is that we should be able, if you are a writer and if you are tasked to write, then you should be careful to choose your words, to choose your purpose, to choose your audience, so that it will make not break somebody else, some other people. Ano na siya. Okay, so let's go start. So the power of the press is a selection of news stories, covers a selection of which news stories will be covered. It also covers the amount of space or time given to stories and the way story is presented. So if you notice, uso karon ang bias nga news or fake news, and that really matters sa power of the press. And images and language used to cover the story. So lain-lain po na siya og kanang images and language that they use. For example, there is a research about two magazine or two newspapers or several newspapers in Europe. Ano ito lang Queen Elizabeth? Diba na trending si Prince William, kinsa to yung Meghan Markle o si Princess Duchess Kate, diba duha na sila? And they have both opposite attitude and characteristic as a duchess. Now, they are most likely compared sa newspaper. Ang isa, gabi kayo, warabag ka ng gina-praise siya maayo. And the other one is ginabash, bitaw siya, gina-pull down siya sa mga articles about kang Meghan Markle because of some other reasons. Now, the power of the press has the ability to, convey images and language about a person or a story that is somewhat biased to that person or to that story. And sometimes, importance given to the story by its placement. So, in a newspaper, the first few pages or the front page and the first 4 pages are the most important. Okay, are the most important story in a newspaper. The power of the press also affects the way the audience is guided to interpret the story. So no matter what the content of the story is, the way the story is presented to the audience, it would probably affect the audience of that story or that article. Then, glory by the byline. Okay, byline, as we know it is the line of which contains the name of the author of the article, right? So the power is in the author of the article. So we have to remember that one too. Next, so let's have a little bit of review. What is news? It is the information about current events printed in newspapers or broadcast by the media. Okay, in other words, these are about recent information, current events, somebody or someone who is interesting, and someone who is previously unknown that has become known. And then what are the elements of news? Yes. Newsworthiness or news, timeliness, proximity or nearness. So we cannot relate to news that is presented to us inside North Korea. Dili ta makarelate ana because layo kasi sa tuwa. So we could probably relate sa balita about kang Rehensya, about kang Duterte, about so on and so that. Okay? Significance. And then prominence, oddity or unusualness, and conflict. Then we could also talk about human interest, drama, romance, progress, and numbers. We also have essential qualities of news. So it should be accurate, brief, dili brief nga po ha, brevity or shortness baka kaniya, clarity, style, and objectivity. So although there is style, the news should be objective in a sense, not biased, not personal, not subjective. Okay? Okay, what are examples or what are the theme that is going around school news? Because most probably we're going to write about school news, right? So it could probably be classroom story, enrollment story, meeting story, program or party story, experiments or surveys, honor roll or dean's list story. Pwede na siya. Pwede po siya event, mga events na nahitabo, event, important matters sa school. For example, last year, if we are in a normal situation, we could have had, I think, palaro, right? Is this palaro na time, no? So we could have covered the events in palaro. Palaro lagi. Oh, and every event that is involved in it. Okay, next. It could also, school news could also include award story, school improvement story, election story, school organization or club story, out of school activity or extension programs, and special occasion stories. Okay, so those are news. News lang ha. Panang something that the students would care to read and know about. Of course, because they are student of that school, it should be about the school also. Then what is a quality or what are the qualities of a news writer? So someone who must have a nose for news. Dili kay kanang tirang lang ha, kanang nose for news gid siya, kanang factual and objective kind of storytelling. Must not be afraid of people. Dapat kay kanang dili siya mahadlok nga ma-judge based sa iyang ipangsulat. Knowledgeable in style, must be able to finish articles in time. So, looking at as a dili mo ko news writer. Kuan mo ko cartoonist mo ko sa kasayuran sa una in eventuality. I would always be late for my submissions, and that would be a no-no to your school paper advisor. So it's important that as a news writer, kinahanglan siya ang una o be on time pagpasa mga articles required sa iyang advisor. Okay? And what are the sources of news for us? For us who is going to make a campus paper. So, pwede siya offices, departments, library. We could also get information from the school calendar, invitations and memos, different club and organizations, sports team, students and teachers, of which we can do some interview about, and then the community as well. For example, if the school is doing an extension program, of course, dili lang ka mag-get of information from the persons who are organizing the extension program, but also the people who are benefiting from that extension program, or the community affected or is benefiting from that extension program. Okay? Okay. All right. So what are kinds of news? This is just a review. Straight news consists of facts reported without elaboration. What, when, where, how, and why, and then other important information. News feature, we will talk more about this on feature writing, but news feature is based on facts, but the writer may give impressions, may describe or narrate without resorting to biased opinion. It's still news, but it has a little bit of storytelling to it, more of storytelling outside of the WH questions narrative. Then we have the inverted pyramid as a basic structure of news. So we have here at the top the most interesting or most important information, and then we have the least interesting or least important information. We could also have three parts there sa atong inverted pyramid. The first two, the top and the middle, are most important and next most important, and pwede ra siya sa last is the least important, and you can judge whether or not you can include it or not. All right, now let's go to the lead. The lead. I'll take the lead. So what is the role of the lead in your article or in your story? Basically, it will guide, it will lead the reader to further to get the information that he or she wants to know about the news story. Okay, so the first paragraph is the most important part of the article. It summarizes the story. So it has the hook. Ano bang makatch niyang attention sa reader? It arouses the reader's interest and answers away the most important questions, the 5 W's and 1 H. Okay, so these are the 5 W's and 1 H. Now, in writing the lead, depending on the nature of the story, its driving news elements, a lead can focus on one or few of the 6 questions. So not necessarily katong 5 W's and 1 H, imo siyang iapil tanan. Depende man gud siya sa availability sa information o sa importance po sa information. So not necessarily nga katong 6 question words, imo siyang ibutang sa imong lead because that will be probably be a long paragraph and not one sentence anymore. So we have the who story. For example, we also have the what lead, who lead, what lead, where lead, when lead, how lead, why lead, for example. Okay. We also have other kinds of leads aside from the 5 W's and 1 H. Astonisher, ano na siyang mga better at, for example, kanang catchy siya, but it would make the reader kanang, unsa ni siya, ano bitaw? We also have who's writing. Okay, we also have the contrast lead. Okay, it's like contrasting two things, of course. The epigram lead, this is kanang two birds hit by one stone, for example, like that, like father, like son. It's like a verse quotation in the first paragraph of your news story. Okay, this is most probably used when ang imuhang story is inspirational siya, or that the person involved in the story literally yang gi-quote nimo siya ba, pwede siya, it's like somewhat quote epigram lead siya, gi-quote nimo siya based from iyahang gistorya, pwede pa na siya. So we have the picture lead, describes to create a mental picture of the subject. For example, the new dean, although in his 30s, is already silver haired. So not necessarily a picture, but it's a description of the who in the news story. Background lead, we also have that, parody lead, and punch lead. For example, God is dead. That's an example. So we already know about that, as well as quotation lead and question lead. And most common is that who will be the next Miss Palaro 2020, if there is any. Okay, pwede na siya. Okay, now what are the guides in writing leads? Start with the most important or unusual idea of the news event. Okay, for example, if you are tasked to make a news story about the persistent server crash of Moodle, for example, let's have that as an example. Your lead would be for example, hashtag 504 unavailable service, something like that. That would be a catchy lead. Okay, that will lead your reader to further read about your story. Then pack the most important info in one sentence. Only one sentence, not one paragraph if you can. Okay, because not necessarily you have to write the 5 W's and 1 H in your lead. And go directly to the point. Do not once upon a time in a faraway land there lived a cho-cho, like that. Okay? Then rarely use the word when and where leads, or really use the when and where leads. For example, on August 15, 2020, blah, 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 blah. Okay? At Sabaylit Street, Iligan City. That is not, those are rarely used leads, kinds of leads. Now use less than 30 words as much as possible in your lead. And don't start with articles on, or da. Okay? Then let's try to analyze examples here. So who would want to read an article that begins with the General de Jesus College? The General de Jesus College board meet Tuesday night at General de Jesus College to discuss the new dress code. Okay, so it's there. Problem is there is an article redundant on college, the college, the school, and then it answers, it has more than what, when, yeah, who. Okay, so it has 3 W's there. So instead, you try to answer a proposal to change uniforms received a lukewarm reception at last night's school board meeting. So not necessarily identified what school and so on. Let's have another example. Who wants to read an article that begins with this kind of lead? The basketball team for the IT department won the semifinals in basketball. Is it interesting? Is it catchy? Boring. Boring. Okay. So let's have a look at this one. With seconds left on the time clock, we're gonna warag naka sa game. With seconds left on the time clock, BSIT's own Andres de Magiba scored a winning shot that lead the team into the Tamales basketball semifinals. We're bitaw ka nang nag-angkor. No? It's something that is very interesting and catchy at the same time. Okay, so that's it for the lead. Let's go to the body. Okay, so what a great body. Okay, so same as the lead, your body should also have a great importance in your article. So the body contains the details of the summary lead, arranged from most important to least important information. One sentence, one paragraph structure is most preferable, and sentences are generally less than 24 words. Okay? And we could also use transitional devices like furthermore, moreover, and so on. Include quotations from at least 2 different people. If you are using quotation structure, a quote structure of news, then the better. Do not editorialize. Do not put your opinions into your news or body of your news story. For example, you are writing a story about the Moodle crash, for example, the crashing of Moodle platform, for example. I do not like it. It's always crashing at 8, something like that. Okay, do not put your opinion to it. Next, the subject verb object sentences of generally less than 24 words are preferable. Okay, so one idea per sentence only. Do not use complex sentences. Don't delay meaning. Don't use a lot of commas. And use strong verbs and active voice. Do not use passive, as we've mentioned in our previous discussions. And simplify terms. So in the writing process, we have gather the details, of course. Where can you get the sources, the information? I've mentioned it previously, pwede sa teachers, sa website baka ha, sa school, sa deans, and so on. Process the details. What is the news value? Is it very important? What details should be included? Should I include that I don't like online class? Who are my target readers? Are my target readers my teachers, my co-students, and so on? And are there important details missing? Okay, then you have to rewrite, read over and over, proofread, edit for mechanics and structure. So if you have pictures, then you can put it in the article, but we will talk more on how to put pictures and caption on the next lessons. It's optional. Okay, so before we proceed to before we end today's workshop, I'm sure lecture, let's have a look at our output. Oh no, let's have a look at our output last year. So we did something last year, guys, and I want to share it with you, and so that you can have an idea that we are not just, playing here or something. So let me share first my screen. Is it working? Pasensya kayo kung kuan, guys, Google Chrome, because it's really, pissing me off. Charot. Bitaw, guys. Here it is. Let me share my screen. Where is it? Can you see it? White lang siya, white. Yes? Hello? Hello, can you see this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. So this is our
Yes, ma'am.
output last year. We call it the SPC Herald. So our front page news story is the winning of the Mr. and Miss SPC Palaro 2019. So there are some familiar faces here. Okay, and this is an example of the news story. All right, so this is by Therese Villester, if you know her. We also have other news right here. And on the next page, we can see the comics. This is at the back part. This is another news story, which is about college student orientation for that school year. And another news about the college, the Palaro, and tuition fee increase. We also mentioned that one in our publication last year.
Wala may kita sa picture, ma'am. Lecture 7 ra ko nakita.
What's our lecture 7?
Bitaw, ma'am. Wala sa ko,
Wala may picture. Wala may kita nakita.
Ay, sorry. Taka-taka lang kong storya. Kani.
Nakita na.
Ay, ginoo. Nangutan na bitaw ko, kita mo ani, wala sila, ginoo ko. Kita mo ani, balik ko matana. Diyos ko. O, kita mo ani.
Yes,
Alam mo
ma'am.
ani. Okay, all right. So this is our example, okay, of our output last year. Where is that? This one. Shahi kay guys. Okay, so anyway, you can see here familiar faces, like that. This is our front page, our first our major news story, front page. We also have the rankings result for Palaro. We also have trash talk over SPC Anonymous na Facebook page. We also have here, this is the back part, the last page rather. We have comics and so on. We also have here the news about the college orientation of that semester. You can see here. There you have a picture, right? And the below is the article. And we also have the champion of the year of the Palaro. We also mentioned here the news about the tuition fee increased, because some students say that they don't know about it. Okay, so naa siya daragi, sulat na gyud siya. Okay? So you might wonder, is it okay, ma'am, to post to feature or to write something about very controversial about the school? The administration actually told me that it's totally okay. It's your right, it's your privilege to talk about the school, so long as there is a correct platform. In a proper platform lang siya. Okay? So, correct platform niya siya.
Miss Irene.
Oh, yeah, it's totally okay. Especially if sa editorial na mo, sa editorial, yun, dadto mo manggawa sa inyong mga opiniones and so on. O, tara, that is Miss Palaro 2019. As an example of a news also. We also have here...
Okay, nagkita siya.
This is now our other news editorial. This is our editorial na. So this is our editorial cartooning, editorial article, and feature story. You can see Dominic, if you're familiar with Dominic, feature na mo siya. And ang naanhing nga maestra nga si Ma'am Concordia. May her soul be rest in peace. So, ano siya. So, questions so far. Sorry kayo guys. Wala ko kabantay. Okay, questions so far.
Okay lang din sila mag-edit sa about sa any controversy, ma'am, no? Bongga.
Yes. Basta tarong lang yun ang
Pagka-graduate nimo kay
platform.
didin ka pasudlon sa gate.
Dili, basta tarong lang ang platform. Tarong raman ang platform. Actually, in our publication, wag kaupat na mention ang tuition fee increase. Both sa editorial and then sa news and something news story, news article. So it's very okay good siya. So long as there is a proper and legit bang formal nga platform lang siya. Okay?
Ma'am, no, kaso lang, dili kita ko sa amo nga batch kay inani man ta.
Kaya ano na to, oy. Because of that, let's have this. Let's end our ano to? Our workshop. Okay. Workshop / lecture and so on. So the good news is the lecture ends now. The bad news is workshop starts now. So what you're going to do today, ladies and gentlemen, is you write a new story that focuses on the title or the topic or the theme, the shift of SPC to online class. It's a new story, the shift ba. If you notice during the summer period, at the front of the gate sa SPC, na-poster to like SP St. Peter's College goes online class, something like that. Nga na siya. Okay? So focus on the shift of SPC to online class. So you can include a lot of information like what is the platform use, how do the teachers and students adjust, how about the tuition fee, who are the person liable, and so on, and like that. And when did the school start? School year started, and so on, like that. Okay. Okay. So pointers, you might want to include the 5 W's and 1 H questions, answers. Quotations, you can also put in quotations. Like for example, you might want to take a look at our website. There are a lot of information there. And further details, you can also see, especially sa atong platform, sa Moodle, you can also see a lot of information there. And make sure to use 1 paragraph, 1 sentence structure. So not necessarily nga one paragraph, isa lang kalinya ha. You can, 24-word paragraph, sentence rather. Okay?
Ma'am.
Yes.
Kanang in one paragraph, isa na siya, one paragraph.
One paragraph is 1 sentence.
Oh?
Okay, let's do it like this. 1 paragraph. Okay, there's 1 paragraph. It's not 1 paragraph. Oh my God, that's wrong. Erase. Okay, make sure that you don't use lang. You don't use complex sentences. Yan na lang.
Okay.
Okay. Erase the last one. Erase the last one. Do not use complex sentences. Ana lang. Okay?
Do not use.
Okay. All right. We have less than 1 minute. Do not forget to submit it in our Moodle classroom. That's on workshop 8. Submit it there. PDF file and so on. And then take note of the assignment 8. I have an assignment 8 for you guys. Questions so far?
Ma'am, kano sa ang deadline
On or before Wednesday. On or before Wednesday.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, it's there in the Moodle. Please read. Also, I will put instructions after